I have to tell you, when they first told me that I was going to be preaching tonight, the first thing that came to my mind was, why me? And I asked God, why me? It didn't take him long to say, don't ask me why I have you there, as this day was predetermined before you were born. Same applies to you. You are all here today, not by coincidence, not because someone brought you, but because God wanted you here to hear the word. It's not a mistake. Your life is not a mistake. Your life has a purpose. Do any of you know what your purpose is in life? I'm here to tell you what your purpose is today. Regardless of what you may have heard from your parents, from your friends about your life, we didn't plan to have you. I want you to understand something. It wasn't the plans of your parents. It was God's plan. God was the one who blessed your parents to have you. And I'll go back to what your purpose in life is. Okay? Do you know what you should be doing? Do you know what your destiny is? I think not, because if you knew, you wouldn't make half the mistakes you make today. You know, Jesus' purpose on earth was to destroy the devil's work, right? But what do you guys do? The complete opposite. Instead of helping to destroy the devil's work, you encourage it. Almost like you want to make the devil a successful businessman. Doesn't work that way. That's not how it needs to be. And I wanted to read to you in John chapter 6, verse 38, clearly states, "For I came down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me." Who sent you on earth? God. To do his work and his will. You are no different. A lot of you like to use your circumstances at home as a crutch, as an excuse to do the things that you do outside. Well, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. Neither is he. I don't understand why you guys continue to do the dishonorable rather than do things that are honorable. Cutting class, talking about the girl you were just having a conversation with after she walks away. Is that your purpose in life, to be a gossiper? I don't know. What needs to happen is, and you need to understand another thing that you guys need to stop doing. One of the main things that Jesus wanted to emphasize is knowing and learning how to honor. Okay? But what drives me insane is that you all show more honor and respect to that individual that gave you your first beer, your first cigarette, your first drag of weed, your first sniff of coke. You give them more respect than you do to your own parents. Where's the honor in that? Let me ask you a question. How many of you have been, say, on the computer, and like 2 weeks ago, like Jessica mentioned it, on Facebook, right? And your mother comes over to you and says, "Oh, listen, I need you to help me clean. You know, someone, I just got a call, this person's coming to visit, I need you to help me clean." How many of you have gotten up from that seat, Pissed off, upset. Show me your hands. All right? Let me ask you a question, though. Would you feel the same way if you knew it was Jesus coming to visit? Then that makes you a hypocrite. You have to learn how to be prepared for the unexpected. Don't do things because you know someone is coming. Do it because you want to. The only thing I say is, when you're going to do it because it comes from your heart, not because you're expecting a reward to put in your wallet, in your pocket. No. What happens the day when your mother or your father doesn't have money to give you? Does that mean you're not going to do it because you're not being paid? Motives. Something to think about. When you were designed by God, okay, you are an original creation, okay? There's no other like you. But when you do things you're not supposed to be doing, so I mentioned before, hanging out, smoking, drinking, partying, hanging out with the wrong people, what happens to you? You are no longer an original. You become what I like to call is a replica. Okay? Now, what is a replica? I'll explain it to you. Explain it to you so that in a way that you guys understand it. Let's say, right? Original pair of Jordans, $100, $200, right? Imitation pair, a lot cheaper. What is that telling you? That's telling you that when you become a replica, you no longer have the same value as you did when you were first an original. Your value drops. When you do the devil's work, the more that you condone the world and what's happening out there, the more your value goes down until you're worth nothing. And then what do? You start crying, how can this have happened? You put it upon yourself. You know, in Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Do I have to say any more? It says it right there. He has plans for you. But you're too concerned about what's happening out there that you lose focus. You want to make up your own plans. We all have our purpose in life. We all have our own purpose. Some may be different than others. We may start and take different paths, but ultimately what we want to do is join together at the end. Because when you do that, that means that you followed the life that he had for you. Some may go through a bigger obstacle. You're going to go through your trials and tribulations. That's fine. But that only makes you stronger. I've been there. I know. I know what it's like. You have to understand that God made an investment in you. He invested in you with the expectations that you would be willing to invest in someone else. But if you're too wrapped up in your own little world, what's happening to that other person that may need you? A simple hello. How you doing? Can I go over? You want to go over? Let's just go and talk. But you're too wrapped up in about what he said, she said. Oh, I'm bored. Oh, I wish I was out, you know. No. You have to learn how to take the me out of you. Put someone else's life before yours, and then you will see the rewards. Many of you fail to do that. You know, if you don't know your purpose, if you don't know your purpose in life, man, let's just get to it. If you don't know what your purpose in life is, then you don't know what your identity, you don't have an identity. How can you identify yourself if you don't know your own purpose? I speak from experience. I struggled. I was right where you were at. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I struggled. I went through it. I didn't know what my purpose in life was. So I created my own identity in the street. I sold drugs. At the age of 15, I was in the club with a gun because the people I was rolling with had it like that. They didn't have to stand in line. That was the life that I was living. That was the life that I chose to live. Why? Because I was so wrapped up in making easy money, and when seeing my pockets all nice and fat, that I wasn't worrying about anything else in life. I wasn't worrying about each time I gave out a bag of dope to somebody, a bag of heroin, the lives I was destroying, the families I was destroying. I wasn't worried about that. All I wanted to make sure is that you had my money. That was it. That's all that mattered. And let me tell you, the people that I was running around town with, they were nobody to play with. They would beat you for fun. If you were short $2, not because they needed it while they had $4,000 or $5,000 in their pocket, but for $2. They had no respect for life. They had no respect for anyone other than themselves. You were garbage to them. Wasn't easy. A lot of things happen. I've seen a lot of things. I've done a lot of things. A lot of things I'm not proud of. But I have to tell you that in all the times that I was giving out and selling drugs, the more I did that, the colder I got inside. And the lives I was destroying. That was my identity. I had the identity of a destroyer. To this day, I still pay for that. But I saw something that I wanted to read to you. And it was in Romans chapter 1, verse 21. And it says, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened." They might as well have put my name right there, right after that. And the rest of my friends. They might as well should just put our name on there because that's exactly what we became. Our hearts were darkened. We were evil. Back in those days, if I would have saw you, I would have encouraged you to use drugs. That's the life I was living, because you would have meant nothing to me. Many of you do that today. Maybe not as severe. But when you turn your back on someone, you're just as bad as I am, or as bad as I was. You ask me where my friends from the past are, and I'll show you what cemetery they live in. That is the life they chose. That was their reward, death. And I was headed the same way, same path. But his gun jammed. And I'll never forget that day. I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I had no idea where I was running. I just kept running. Because I tell you, only and only the hand of God can have stopped that bullet from coming out of that chamber. And I ran. And as I'm running, all I hear is a voice in the background, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. But I just kept going. Before you knew it, the voice kept fading away. The words kept fading away. And I realized that that very moment, I was running away from a life of evil. I was running away from it. I didn't want to turn. I was not going to turn back to it. I made a decision that this had to end, because this was not the life that God had chosen for me. Do you want to live the life I lived? I got a second chance. I got a chance at life. There's no guarantee that if you go down the same path I did, you're going to get that chance. So why take the risk? What are you going to gain? So what do you see when you see yourselves? I couldn't even look in the mirror. Because I was afraid of the man I had become. That's scary. I don't want you guys to go through what I went through. I don't want you to leave your house and have your mother wondering if you're going to come back home. Is my child going to make it back home today? And I want you to think about the person you are today and the person you see 5 years from now. Take a moment to think about that. Are you happy with what you see now? Are you going down the right path? Is that what you see? I don't know. I need you to tell. I need you to really think. Think about it. I don't know your circumstances. I don't know the life you're living. I don't need to know, because He knows and you know. So are you happy with what you see? I'm here today by the grace of God. life matters. But you're going to throw it all away. Make peace. Make peace at home. Make peace with yourself. If what you see or if what you saw didn't put a smile on your face, then something is wrong. I can't change you. Charlie, Jessica, Manny, Roger, my wife, we can't change you. We can guide you, but we can't change you. You have to be willing to make the change.